Thank you for joining us for the second annual Rochester Writers, Rochester Hills Public Library Author Fair. We are continuing our author interviews, and for this segment, we have Sue Agauas joining us. Hi, Sue. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for having me, Michael. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And what I like about authors like yourself is that you're kind of just getting into the realm of being a published author, and you have your first book out, Grandma's Sock Drawer, correct?
That is correct. Would you like to see a front?
Oh, yes.
There it is.
So that's a beautiful book, and I know that it's already doing well. Where did the idea of Grandma's Sock Drawer come from?
Well, my daughter, who used to write a lot, very creative in her junior high year long ago, she wrote something silly about a sock drawer. And then as I was getting ready for this month in November, which is called National Novel Writing Month, where many people around the world do a funny thing of writing a novel, which is considered 50,000 words in 1 month. And the whole idea of that is just to spark creativity, and you put away your editor self and say, I'll edit another time if it's worth it. But right now, just let me write for the fun of writing. And so I wanted to start this month and explore fantasy, which I had never written before. And I thought about, I remembered her sock drawer poem or whatever she had written. And I thought that's a cool premise. I want to start with that. So that's how it all began.
So there was no grandma with a sock drawer in real life?
No grandma, no sock drawer in it. And I often reflect on the title and I think, I wonder if some people think that's kind of a creepy idea, a grandmother's sock drawer, what would be in there? But
Well, no, I think it's a wonderful idea. It has this mystery to it, a bit of fantasy, as you've mentioned. It leads readers to want to know, what is that all about? I think it's a great idea. It's very youthful.
Thank you very much. I really had fun doing it. It just kind of expanded, and I had ideas of what I wanted to create. But then when I'd go to these different worlds, I would find things that were surprising to me even. And it was just a lot of fun to write.
And what can readers find? First of all, what age group is it for, and what kind of journey will they go on?
Well, I keyed it for starting with young adults, but I have found an audience of anywhere from like third grade upwards, adults. They've enjoyed it, and they've given me feedback that they couldn't stop reading it. They enjoyed it, but it takes you on journeys to. This young lady has come into an inheritance, this sock drawer, and she doesn't understand why. Her grandma is gone, and no one understands where she is. It's not like she's dead, or is she dead? But they don't know. But she has inherited this sock drawer, and 3 pairs of socks. And these take her on journeys to worlds that she never expected, and finding out things about herself, and hopefully to discover what happened to her grandma.
Sounds wonderful. And you said it's a YA or young adult novel. A fun fact for people tuning in is that 80%, I believe that's still the figure of young adult novels are read by adults. I don't know
Yes,
if you've heard that.
I have, and I am one of
So,
those people who do that.
well, yeah, me too. I mean, I find a lot of fun in young adult novels. They're easier to read and they're quicker to read, and they have a spark of joy and mystery and surprise that sometimes I don't find in adult novels.
Yes, yes. Hmm.
So, who's the main character in your book?
Her name is Suki, Suki Durand, and she goes to her grandmother's beach house with her father, and finds herself in the middle of an estate sale. Her father is going to sell everything. And then she has this inheritance given only to her, and she has to find out what does this mean before the whole place is sold out from under her.
So there's this element of a timeline. So you've added that nice. It's a stress level to keep the action moving.
Yes. And one of her allies in this search is her grandmother's little French bulldog that never left her grandmother's side. And so now, as she's in this grandmother's house, this little French bulldog has taken to be with her. And it was really quite funny about the way I wrote this story. I'd be writing late at night and in the chapters and so on, and it'd be time to go to bed. And I would close up my computer and I would turn like the dog was at my side. Okay, let's go to bed. The dog became such a real character to me. I thought it was with me.
Well, I think that you should have little French bulldog creatures or stuffed animals that you can sell with your book.
I know. It was just surprising. I mean, I got so into it that I thought the dog was right here with me, helping me.
Well, that's great. I mean, that shows that you're really involved in your own story, and I think that's where some of the best stories come from. Is that the author is so uh, tied into the story, tied into each character, that they can express that through their words. So I have to ask, without giving away the story, do we have some resolution at the end?
We do, and we don't. And it's really opened up itself for a sequel, which I did write. Worked on it for past couple years, and I found something that is worth revising, which I am working on now. And so there were a lot of questions not answered. So the sequel, I hope, will do that. And then this year, it's November and it's Nano Writing Month again. So I started a new project, which would be the prequel. How did Grandma come to have these socks in the first place? And what was her story that led into Suki's story? So it's just a bunch of fun. I just have a bunch of fun writing it.
So it's going to turn out to be a trilogy
I hope
at the
so.
end. You'll have a prequel and okay, sounds
Yes.
good. Which one will be released first, the sequel or the prequel?
The sequel, I'm hoping. The sequel. Yeah.
Okay, that's wonderful. And you were a school teacher for nearly 40 years. Is that right? What grades did you teach?
That is correct. I had everything from first grade. Um, During the day, it would be elementary. In the evening, I did adult ed many years. I've taught GED. I've taught special education for learning disabled, autistic, and so on like that. Yeah.
Now, I find that a lot of school teachers, especially elementary school teachers, and they're the parents of elementary school teachers, um, try writing a book because of what they've seen throughout the years of what has been assigned reading or what books are available. They feel that, I think, either they can do it too, or they find a gap and they try to fill that gap. Was that your story with coming to become an author?
No, I usually just loved the stories. I loved reading as a kid. When I had my own two children, we'd sit on the couch and we'd take out like 20 some books a week from the library and we'd just read. I used to take notes on them and write what things I liked about them. I just loved going on journeys wherever the authors would take us. And then through the years, I would just write small correspondence things, notes to people, and they would come back with me and say, man, that really touched me, it made me cry or something. And it just encouraged me that there might be something I can say with words on a paper that might touch someone, might make them laugh, might make them feel good. And I had those little bits of encouragements all through the years. And while I was at home with my kids, I took a course, wrote a couple. Well, I had the basic course and then wrote a novel with this correspondence course. And so it's always been there. And then when I went back to work after my kids went to school, I just wrote small things, mostly journaling type. And then when I retired, I thought, let me just spend more time and concentrate on it. So it was not so much seeing a gap as loving the stories.
So it sounds like you just wanted to be part of the magic that you enjoyed.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It's true.
And speaking of the magic and those books that you've enjoyed, can you name some authors or some books that have inspired you and led you on your path?
Well, they're basic ones. I think the one with Grandma Sock Drawer is very connected to the C.S. Lewis Chronicles of Narnia. I really enjoyed his writing of those. So I think you see that reflected in there. And then there's other hints of fantasy that you might see from The Wizard of Oz or stuff like that that wasn't maybe directly in my mind, but as I reflect on it now, I think, oh, those had impacted me when I enjoyed them, and they may have had an influence on some of my writing.
Now, with the example of C.S. Lewis, he often has this meaning of life woven into it. Do you do something similar?
Yes, you'll see that in Grandma Sock Drawer that there are. I don't want to come out and pound anything on anyone, but there are some things that are universal truths, and I feel that I try to help my character discover those through their journeys with others in the book.
And when it comes to being a newly published author, um, what's that like? Do people, do friends and family um, respond to you differently, or are they just happy that they're done being the readers until it's been published?
Well, my family has been very big support, especially my husband. He's always my biggest cheerleader, has been through all the years. And then my children, my daughter is my best critic because she's very talented in her own right, with writing and creativities. And so when I ask her to read something, she'll tell me. She'll tell me straight up. She won't just sugarcoat it and say, "Oh, that's really good, Mom." And oh no, she'll tell me, and it's very helpful, and I appreciate that. My friends, they just mostly are cheering me on and happy that I'm proceeding and moving forward with something that I feel very passionate about.
Well, that's good. It's good to have a nice support system in place. And what kind of feedback are you getting from readers that have enjoyed your book?
I have a cousin who lives in Wisconsin, and she said she was passing my book around to her ladies group circle, and I was getting wonderful feedback from them. They were saying I couldn't put it down. A lot of people who don't like to read, who are not wanting, don't get into books, don't really like it, they are telling me they enjoyed it because the format I used, I had children in mind and myself as well, that I like it to move. I like to turn the page. I like to finish a chapter. I like to get going. And so the whole book is set up with a lot of short chapters. And so these people of, senior age even are telling me I couldn't put it down. I had to finish it because it had that kind of a accomplished feeling when you're reading. I got through another chapter, and what's going to happen now? So they go on.
I really enjoy when an author does a shorter chapter, because you can read maybe two or three in a sitting, and you're not trying to get through a whole chapter. And then you set the book down, and you might take a little bit before you come back to it. But with the shorter chapters and with that sort of cliffhanger or page turner feel to it, you'll read two or three or four in a row. And I really enjoy that style.
That's what I try to
Um,
do. Yeah.
Great. And what advice do you have for authors that are working on their first book, especially maybe an author that is attempting the National Writing Month of November, since we're in that now? Uh, Tips for them?
Oh, yes, big tips. One, don't edit. We have a tendency to go back and reread what we just wrote and then think, oh, that's not good. Let me fix it up. Let me do something. But during the month of November, put that aside and just, read where you left off, but then just go into it and just write and give yourself permission to be horrible. Tell yourself you may write terrible, but just write. And then just by that, having that permission to be free, then you just start discovering things about, you let your characters do things you really, I used to read about people who say, oh, the characters come alive. I didn't know they were going to do this, or they took a different direction. And I thought, wow, my characters never did anything like that until I gave my permission to myself to say, okay, just write. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can fix it later. So that's one of the big ones. Just write and have fun and explore places you might not have taken your characters before.
Good advice, and it reminds me of I forget who said it, but you can't edit a blank page.
True.
Uh, so you need to get the writing in first and get a lot of it. And that's, I think, the challenge that this National Writing Month has given us over what's it been, 8 years or 12 years now?
Oh, I think more than that because I've been doing it since 2009. And I think
Okay.
that might have been, I don't know if that was their 10th anniversary or not, but they've been already going for a while then.
Well, it's a wonderful idea. It's a wonderful program. And I think that it has inspired a lot of authors such as yourself to write that book, get the words down, worry about editing later, get through the process, and then start the whole realm of getting it published. Um, what did you find easier, the writing of the book or getting it published?
Definitely writing. I had no marketing skills at all. And so that was a different hat and a brand new arena for me to learn. And then I went through the editing process, which I didn't mind so much because it was something to better the novel. So I didn't mind that too much. But then it came a time to find a company. And the company I found was over in Dexter, and they were wonderful. I loved them. And then through whatever happened, they went bankrupt in March. And so there I was like, okay, now what do I do? So there was a lot of little glitches like that along the way that I had to learn. I had no idea.
And I hear this a lot from authors, is that every path to publication is different and unique to that author, and you've got to be prepared for all kinds of challenges along the way. So we don't want to scare anybody from pursuing this pursuit of becoming an author, but write it, edit it, publish it. It's a learning experience. It's challenging, but it's very rewarding. And for those that have read Grandma's Sock Drawer, can you give us a little hint of maybe where you will be going without giving too much away?
Well, Suki has to go back, basically. She has to find Grandma, and time is running out, but she has to do it now without ranunculus.
Wonderful. Let's leave it with you telling everyone where they can get a copy of Grandma's Sock Drawer, find out more about you. I bet you got a website.
Yes, I do. I have a beautifully made website. And if you go sueagauas.com, you'll find all the information you need to find a place to order from, basically Amazon or Barnes and Noble books. But it's all there on my website. It's very easy just to click and find it.
That's wonderful. Sue Agauas, thank you so much for joining us today for the Authors Fair, our second annual, held virtually this year. We'll have more today and tomorrow, depending on when you're tuning in. We've got the 30 authors through the course of the Rochester Hills Public Library and Rochester Writers Author Fair.